I just spent weeks reading through the privacy policies of 15 cloud storage providers. And honestly, some of what I found really made my blood boil. So Google's scanning your files to figure out which ads you'll find most useful. Microsoft essentially is feeding your personal documents into their AI training models, but here's what really got me. While Google's privacy policy runs over 11,000 words of legal maze designed to make you give up reading it, there's a company called Filen with a 3,500 word policy that's actually crystal clear about one thing. They literally cannot access your files even if they wanted to. Not, well, we promise not to look. They technologically cannot see your files. Today, I'm breaking down exactly what these companies are hiding in their privacy policies, from the privacy champions that actually deserve your trust to the corporate data vacuums that see your family photos as training data. And I'm going to show you the specific phrases that should make you run for the hills if you ever sign up for one of these services, right? Ready to find out what you actually agree to? Well, let's go. Look, I know privacy policies are unsexy, they are boring, right? They are designed to be boring. But here's the thing, by clicking I agree without reading, you might have just given permission to scan your files, analyze your behavior, and share your data with third parties. And not all cloud providers treat your data the same way. Some companies like Internxt build their entire business around keeping your data private. Now, others, like Google, see your personal information as a resource to monetize, right? Because if the product is free, well, most likely you are the product. And when you upload to the cloud, you're handing over the keys to your digital life, right? At least I have all of my files in the cloud, so it's a lot of files that they will then know about you. And don't you want to know what they're really planning to do with those files and all that information? Well, so what should you actually watch for, right? Now, I would start with vague language, right? Google's privacy policy says, hey, we provide personal information to our affiliates and other trusted businesses. Well, who are these partners? And what does really trusted actually mean? How can you become a trusted Google partner? And Microsoft uses also phrases like to make informed business decisions and for other legitimate purposes. Well, those are essentially catch-all phrases, and they can justify literally anything and everything in the world, right? And another red flag is data retention in my book, right? Some companies keep your data indefinitely even after you delete your account, and others have clear deletion policies. And always check if they mention scanning or analyzing your files beyond just storing them. And well, let me show you what I found when I compared 15 different cloud providers, from the privacy champions to the absolute worst offenders. I spent, weeks of my life reading through these things, and honestly, the differences are really shocking. I'm going to take you from the best to the absolute worst so you can see exactly how the industry approaches your privacy. Okay, let's start with the privacy first champions, right? What do they get actually right? Filen should be the gold standard every cloud company follows. Their privacy policy is around 3,500 words of straightforward, plain language. And here's what makes Filen special. They use zero-knowledge encryption, which means your files are scrambled on your device before they ever reach Filen servers. And Filen literally cannot access your files, well, even if they wanted to. And that's not really marketing spin buried in fine print. It's predominantly featured and it's clearly explained. So what do they collect? Well, your email address and basic usage statistics, and that's pretty much it. They explicitly list their only third-party partners by name, their payment processor, and their hosting provider. No vague language about trusted partners, whoever that is, meaning potentially thousands of companies, right? Their approach to data retention is crystal clear. Files are permanently deleted within 30 days of account closure, account information is deleted within 90 days, and payment records are kept for exactly 7 years as required by German tax law. No ambiguity, no reasonable time clauses, no wiggle room. And operating under German privacy laws means they're subject to one of the world's strictest regulations, and they explicitly state all data is stored on servers in Germany. Now, when they update their policy, they commit to 30 days advance notice. And reading through Filen's privacy policy, I really couldn't find any significant red flags. Internxt is another privacy champion with serious credentials to back it up. And it is a Spanish company. It uses zero-knowledge encryption with post-quantum cryptography. It's a little bit of a buzzword, but essentially meaning they're protecting against threats that don't even exist yet. Therefore, they call it quantum computing. Nobody really knows what this is going to be in future, right? And what the threats actually are. But, well, they have this in place. Their code is completely open source on GitHub, so anyone can verify there are no backdoors. They are GDPR, ISO 27001, and SOC 2 compliant, and also HIPAA compliant, which is basically the full house of privacy certifications. So, what impressed me is how minimal their data collection is. They can't access your files because of the encryptions, they don't store your passwords, and they have a strict no tracking policy. Their servers run 92% on renewable energy in the EU, which is also a nice bonus, right? You can even create an account anonymously. Now, the policy is straightforward and focused entirely on their privacy commitment. And this is what a privacy-first company should look like and how they should design their privacy policy, in my opinion. Sync.com is a Canadian company built around zero-knowledge encryption. And if you follow our channel, you know that we love Sync.com because of their security. We recommend this cloud storage service on and off the channel and on our website because it is such a good provider. And, well, their privacy policy reflects that commitment. It's organized around Canada's PIPEDA principles. Those are 10 privacy principles that actually make a lot of sense, in my opinion. And here's the crucial part. Your passwords and encryption keys never touch Sync's server. So if you lose them, Sync can't help you recover them. And that's the price of real privacy. And honestly, it's a price worth paying. Obviously, you need to make sure you never lose your password or your keys so that you can always access your data. They collect the basics, name, email, address, payment info, but your encrypted files, well, they cannot see them. Canadian servers provide solid GDPR level protection, and they explicitly list every sub-processor they use, from payment processors to analytics companies. And when they say they won't rent, sell, or distribute your data without permission, well, Canadian privacy laws back that promise up. And if there is a security breach, they're legally required to notify you. It's not quite as, I would say, streamlined as Filen, but it's pretty damn close. Tresorit deserves special mention for having the best organized privacy policy I've ever seen. Now, picture this. Legal text on the left side of the page. Good. Plain English summaries on the right. It's just brilliant, just what I want to see. They're a Swiss company, which immediately puts them under some of the world's strictest privacy laws, and they use end-to-end zero-knowledge encryption. What's more to ask? And here's what Tresorit can actually see. The names of your folders, well, fair enough, their sizes, and who has access. Well, they can see anything inside those folders. They had Ernst & Young audit their security in 2019, which shows they're serious about verification and making sure what they claim is actually true. They're transparent about keeping usage logs and analytics, and they explicitly state they might share that metadata with third parties or government officials to, well, protect legal rights. I appreciate the honesty. I don't like that a lot, but, well, they have to comply with the regulation in that country, right? When you delete a folder, the encrypted data inside disappears within 90 days. Their servers are in the Netherlands and Ireland, running on Microsoft Azure's EU infrastructure. So Here are the still good providers, but the ones that come with some caveats. Now, let's talk about Jottacloud. Their privacy policy is only 700 words, and that's it. Each heading clearly tells you what's inside, and they use plain language throughout. They're a Norwegian company, which means they're subject to some of the strongest privacy laws in the world, and they're completely upfront about GDPR compliance. And here's what they collect: your name, address, phone number, and your password. And that last one isn't ideal. They store your password encrypted on their servers, which tells me this isn't really zero-knowledge encryption, but here's what I really appreciated. They clearly state they won't sell your email, they won't share your data with third parties, and they won't view or edit uploaded files. Even though they technically could peek at your files, Norwegian privacy laws are strong enough that I'm inclined to believe them. And if you close your account, they'll hold your data for 90 days before deletion. It's pretty simple, pretty clear, pretty honest. So my only complaint with Jottacloud is that it's too lean. There could be a little bit more meat on the privacy policy. They could expand on a few technical details, in my opinion. pCloud is a Swiss-based company with a relatively clean privacy policy compared to the tech giants. They collect contact info, IP addresses, and device data. It's pretty standard stuff if you ask me, but here's the thing. pCloud uses encryption in transit and at rest, but it's not zero-knowledge by default. They hold the keys. Now, do you want true client-side encryption? Well, that's the pCloud crypto add-on, which, and we have mentioned this a lot here on the channel, costs extra. What I liked is they explicitly don't sell or share your data with third parties, and Swiss privacy laws are legitimately strong. You can choose between US or EU data centers, but the fact that real privacy costs extra bothers me a little. It should be default and not a premium feature in 2025. Moving into murkier territory, iDrive has a clear, readable privacy policy for a US company, but there is a critical gotcha buried in the setup process. They offer zero-knowledge encryption through a private encryption key, but it's not the default. If you choose default encryption, iDrive stores your password and can access your files. They're upfront about this at least, but most users probably don't realize they need to actively choose the private key encryption during setup. They collect standard account data, plus more metadata than most competitors. US-based servers mean, obviously, Five Eyes jurisdiction, though they are EU and US Privacy Shield certified. They explicitly state they might examine accounts suspected of storing illegal material. So if you do set up a private key, your privacy is pretty solid, but that if is doing a lot of work in that sentence, in my opinion. Mega is complicated. They're famous for end-to-end encryption and zero-knowledge architecture, and, well, they're based in Hungary with servers across multiple countries. They use AES 128 encryption, which is still strong despite being older than AES 256-bit. And here's what concerns me. Their policy states the service may hand over user data to advertisers, but the user remains anonymous. They collect unencrypted metadata, including the file names, sizes, and types, though they claim this doesn't reveal content. In 2022, cryptographers discovered a significant vulnerability in Mega's encryption that would theoretically allow someone controlling their infrastructure to retrieve user encryption keys. Mega patched it, but it really raises question about whether other flaws exist. They will comply with takedown notices and law enforcement. The encryption is real, but there are enough caveats that I'd be cautious with truly sensitive material. IceDrive's privacy policy clocks in around 4,500 words, and here's the thing. It's not really terrible, but it's clear they're more interested in protecting their service than protecting your data. The policy is, relatively readable, but what jumped out at me is what's missing in the policy. They don't actually mention encryption anywhere in the privacy policy or terms of service, which is bizarre. since that's supposedly a major selling point. Instead, I found about 20 bullet points of things you can't do with your account, and honestly, I felt like they spent more time thinking about how to cover themselves legally than like how to protect your files and your identity. What really bothered me is how much responsibility they essentially dump on you. There's this line about how you control your data and cookies, and immediately it's followed by them saying they maintain multiple copies of your files. So which is it, right? The jurisdiction is pretty decent. They're under UK law with some EU processing, and they explicitly don't use Google Analytics or third-party tracking, which is genuinely good. But if your account sits inactive for 12 months, they can wipe essentially everything. Well, they will send you probably some notices, but there's a risk. And they reserve the right to restrict your access at any time for any reason. It's not exactly inspiring confidence, is it? Moving into the corporate convenience tier. Dropbox has a moderate-length privacy policy with friendly language that's still pretty detailed. They collect account info, all your files, which they call your stuff, in a kind of cutesy way that doesn't change exactly what they're doing, but still. Usage data and also device info, and also contacts if you want to share them with them. And here's the deal. Dropbox won't sell your data, but they share it with trusted partners for service provision and product improvement. Team admins can access team accounts completely. So if you use DocSend or Dropbox Sign, even more usage data gets shared. Dropbox is encrypted in transit and at rest, but it's absolutely not zero knowledge. Dropbox holds all the encryption keys and can see everything you store. They are a US-based company with multi-region storage, which means variable jurisdiction depending on where your data lands. Box is similar, but even more enterprise-focused. US-based in California, which puts them under Five Eyes jurisdiction. They promise never to share data unless necessary for service provision, and they've got an impressive stack of compliance certifications. Now, there is HIPAA, SOC2, ISO 27701, and GDPR for specific products. It uses SSL, TLS in transit, and AES 256-bit at rest, but isn't zero knowledge by default. So, want private encryption? Well, that's Box KeySafe, you guessed it, paid add-on for Business Plus or Enterprise tiers. The privacy policy is, well, professional and detailed, with like moderate to heavy legal jargon focused on enterprise compliance. They collect your name, address, device info, and data from third parties. It's designed for businesses that need compliance checkboxes, not really individuals who want privacy by default. Now we get to iCloud, and this is where Apple's marketing collides with reality. You've seen the ads. Oh, privacy here. That's the iPhone, right? But iCloud tells a very different story. By default, Apple encrypts your data in transit and at rest, but Apple holds all the keys. They can access your contacts, calendars, photos, documents, health data, activity data, and device associations. Mail, contacts, and calendar never get end-to-end encryption. There is really no option for it. Apple introduced advanced data protection as an optional feature that applies end-to-end encryption to most data, but not mail, not contacts, or calendar. They collect extensively across all Apple services. They comply with law enforcement and subpoenas. And while they say they won't sell data, they gather enormous amounts for service improvements, right? Whatever that is. Apple's privacy story works great for data on your iPhone, but for iCloud, not so much. Terabox offers 1 terabyte of free storage. Great, right? Which immediately made me suspicious. Nothing really is truly free in tech. They're operated by FlexTech Inc. in Japan now, though they used to be Dropbox-based in China, and that history matters to me. The privacy policy mentions service in Japan, but details about their encryptions are, well, very vague. There's no zero-knowledge encryption at all, and here's what really bothered me. They explicitly state they're entitled to share details with third parties, including local and state governments. They use third-party cookies for ads on the free tier, and they may keep your data after you request deletion for business or legal reasons. The policy mentions GDPR but doesn't clearly explain implementation. They might require real identity documents in some jurisdictions, and the whole thing feels like they're offering massive free storage because they're monetizing your data in other ways. Do you want that? Well, that's up to you. Microsoft OneDrive comes with a privacy policy that's nearly 11,000 words of formal, legal-focused language that's genuinely hard to parse. Microsoft collects extensive data beyond what's needed for basic cloud storage. They straight up tell you, okay, Microsoft collects data from you through our interactions with you and through our products. Then there's this gem about combining data from different contexts to give you a more seamless and consistent personalized experience to make informed business decisions and for other legitimate purposes. That phrase, other legitimate purposes, should make your skin crawl. At least that's what it did for me after studying all these policies. It's deliberately vague and could justify almost anything. And here's something that really got my attention. They explicitly reserve the right to use your data to develop and train our AI models, which means OpenAI will also use your data in a sense because Microsoft is a big co-investor in OpenAI. So your personal files and usage patterns are helping build ChatGPT, are helping build Copilot, all the other AIs that they may be involved in, right? Whether you want that or not. Retention policies aren't clear for most data types, though Microsoft 365 files do get deleted after 30 days when you cancel, with some personal info hanging around for 180 days. Like Google, this operates under multiple jurisdictions depending on essentially where you live, mostly US or EU law, and Microsoft encryption means they hold all the keys to your data. And finally, well, Google Drive. And honestly, this is where I got really angry. Google's privacy policy is just under 6,000 words. Add in the related advertising pages in terms of service, and you're looking at about 11,000 plus words. It's massive. It's certainly intimidating and clearly designed to make you give up reading it. Well, if you just skim the headings on Google's Safety Center, well, you might actually think, well, it's not that bad, right? You'll see phrases like, we have responsible data practices, and we never sell your personal information. But the moment you dig into the actual policy, it's obvious Google is absolutely not your privacy friend. The amount of data they collect is staggering. They explicitly state they use automated systems that analyze your content for personalized ads. Well, at least they're personalized, right? Your personal files are being scanned for advertising purposes. They share data with specific partners, which could mean thousands of subsidiaries. Retention policies are deliberately vague, with language like keeping data for the life of your Google account if it's useful for helping us understand how users interact with our features, yada, yada, yada. Since Google accounts can stay active indefinitely, that's basically permanent retention. And yeah, I use Google services too, right? Don't get me wrong. But let's not pretend it's anything other than trading convenience for becoming part of a massive data harvesting operation. So how do all these privacy policies compare? All right, let's put all 15 of these providers side by side so you can see exactly how they stack up. I'm throwing this comparison table up on the screen right now, covering the 5 key metrics that actually matter. It's a bit of a doozy, so feel free to pause the video and give it a closer look to compare all the privacy policies. But you can also click on the link below where we have an article around those policies and we give you a good overview of what each privacy policy does and does not do. Starting with legibility and clarity, how easy is the privacy policy to understand? Well, Filen, Jottacloud, and Sync.com keep it pretty simple and straightforward. Google and Microsoft, well, they're deliberately burying the truth in 11,000 words of legal jargon, and that is clearly not an accident. On legal terminology, the privacy-first providers like Filen and Internxt use plain English, and you can actually understand what you're agreeing to. Meanwhile, OneDrive and Google Drive require a law degree to parse their policies. Now, here's where it gets really stark. Data collection. Filen collects your email and basic usage stats, and that's it. And Google, well, they're collecting data, all the data they can possibly get their fingers on, building a complete profile of you across every service. And for data and storage handling, well, obviously they're terrible, but then zero-knowledge providers like Filen and Internxt and Tresorit, well, they encrypt everything on your device before you upload to the cloud, and they don't hold the keys, right? Google, Microsoft, Dropbox, Box, iCloud, well, they all hold the encryption keys, meaning they can access everything you store. And finally, data usage and sharing. This is where the business models become, crystal clear. Filen explicitly lists their only two third-party partners by name, and Google shares with specific partners, which could mean thousands of companies, and they're using your content to train AI models, right? Microsoft's using your data for other legitimate purposes, which could justify also anything. And here's my bottom line after reading all these policies in the last few weeks. If you want complete airtight privacy, you've got essentially 5 solid options. Filen, Internxt, Sync.com, Tresorit, and probably Jottacloud, right? These companies, well, they can't access your files. They're transparent about what little data they do collect, and they're not monetizing your information. pCloud, iDrive, Mega, and IceDrive are, I would say, one step down the ladder, but still guarantee solid privacy protections for their users. So if you're stuck in the Google or Microsoft ecosystem for work, well, fine, so be it. But don't store anything personal there. Use them for collaboration, but keep your family photos, text documents, and anything sensitive with a privacy-first provider. Obviously, it depends a lot on your business, right? If you are a legal consulting firm, well, then avoid Microsoft and avoid Google. But there are other businesses who might be just fine with sharing a little bit of their data. I think zero-knowledge encryption and privacy, it's worth the extra step. And, well, if you're currently using iCloud, thinking Apple's privacy marketing protects you, or maybe even, God forbid, Terabox, because hey, 1 terabyte of free storage, why not? It's time to really move your data. Those providers are the worst of both worlds, right? But, well, who am I to tell you, right? The choice is yours. But at least now you know what you're actually agreeing to. And let me know in the comments which provider you're using and whether this changed your perspective at all. And if this opened your eyes, hit that like button and subscribe, because I'm diving deep into more privacy and security topics you actually need to know about. And thank you very much for watching. And seriously, go read your cloud storage privacy policy tonight. Your future self will thank you.